Welcome, everyone. Hello, my name is Amy Miller, and I'm president of the PhRMA Foundation. Thank you for joining me today in our latest in our webinar series. This one is exploring career paths through Pfizer's postdoctoral research opportunities. Our mission at the PhRMA Foundation is to fund the next generation of biopharmaceutical innovation through supporting early career researchers. We fund primarily in these core areas: drug discovery, drug delivery, translational medicine, and value assessment health outcomes research. We fund pre-docs, postdocs, and early career faculty in those areas. And I know you're all here to learn about postdoctoral positions in industry, but for those of you who are interested in postdoctoral opportunities in academia or are one right now, we are opening our application process for drug delivery, drug discovery, and translational medicine. It opens on Monday. So take a look at the program descriptions and start thinking about your ideas. The portal opens on March 3rd. It closes on April 15th at noon Eastern Time. And if you are invited to submit a full application, you'll be notified on July 1st. Once you are invited to submit a full application, those are due at the end of summer on August 28th, again, noon Eastern Time. And we will announce our awardees in December. And if you are awarded, then you can start receiving your funds as early as January or as late as August. We are also hosting a webinar. Team Foundation is hosting a webinar on Tuesday, March 11th, and it's just a general FYI about our application process. And I will be joined with Emily Ortman, the head of communications, and Joed Westfall, the head of operations, and the person you will hear the most from if you apply for our grants. Aside from this webinar, we have other webinars, such as crafting clear and compelling research aims. And if you intend to apply for one of our grants, I strongly urge you to look at that video. We have other transitioning to industry videos, one for all career stages and a few others in other postdoctoral programs. When we do a webinar, we also make some helpful checklists, as you can see here. How to write a grant application, a very nice checklist from Dr. Peter Newman. And then we also had one on the do's and don'ts of grant writing. That one is, I can't remember her last name, by Dr. Stephanie. I would encourage you to write that one, watch that one as well. But this is a good do and don't checklist for you to check your work. And we can't do any of this work or fund any research without the supporters, so I want to thank all of our supporters. We are easy to find. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us. This is our contact information, and you can also find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. For any of you watching and want to tell a friend about this, it will be posted on our YouTube channel, usually within 24 to 48 hours. With that, I would like to turn the stage over to Mercedes.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. All right. You can see what I'm sharing?
Yes.
Great. Let me just make sure I can see everything. Okay. All right. Thank you, Amy, for hosting this webinar, and thanks everyone for joining. As Amy said, my name is Mercedes Grisha, and I'll be talking to you today about the Pfizer Research and Development Postdoctoral Program. First, I'll start off by sharing a little bit about my career journey. Then I'll give you an overview of Pfizer, and then an overview of our postdoc program. And I've brought with me two of our current postdocs, so we can hear from them as well. Okay. My current role is the lead of both our Pfizer R&D postdoc program and our Pfizer R&D rotational program. I earned a bachelor's degree in molecular biology and biochemistry from Rutgers. And I also earned my PhD from Rutgers in molecular genetics, microbiology, and immunology. I then went on to join Janssen Pharmaceuticals, part of Johnson & Johnson, where I designed, I implemented, and I managed their postdoc program. While there, I also managed another talent development rotational program. And in 2019, I joined Pfizer, which is where I am today, leading our postdoc program and our R&D rotational program. Okay, so now I will transition to talk about Pfizer. All right, so Pfizer was founded in Brooklyn 175 years ago by two immigrant cousins, Charles Pfizer and Charles Earhart. It was a chemical manufacturing business. Little did they know that that company would go on to play a major role in addressing some of society's most devastating illnesses, such as manufacturing large quantities of penicillin needed for soldiers during World War II, to developing breakthrough vaccines that have helped eradicate devastating illnesses, to creating a breakthrough breast cancer therapy that's given more than 450,000 women additional high-quality years of life. But underlying all of these examples is our purpose, breakthroughs that change patients' lives. A company's purpose defines its role in the world, and a company that stays true to their purpose generally outperform those that don't. We intend to stay true to our purpose by adhering to our four core values: courage, excellence, equity, and joy. These values define our culture at Pfizer and how we do everything. In 2023, Pfizer's revenue was over $58 billion. And as of 2024, we had 36 manufacturing sites and about 80,000 colleagues worldwide. We sell products in more than 180 countries and had 10 products with sales greater than $1 billion in 2023. In 2024, we had 113 products in our clinical research and development pipeline, each of which is representing a potential breakthrough that could change patients' lives. In 2023, we reached 618 million patients with our medicines and vaccines. That's more than 1 out of every 6 people on Earth. And we have an ambition to touch 1 billion lives every year by the year of 2027. Pfizer has focused its business where it believes it can have the greatest impact on patients and on society. We're pursuing what we believe to be the most innovative therapies and vaccines. This slide shows the therapeutic areas Pfizer has decided to focus its resources. They're oncology, internal medicine, vaccines, and inflammation and immunology. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit us at Pfizer.com or any one of our social media platforms. But for now, I'm going to pivot to give you a little overview of the postdoc program. So first, I'll start off by addressing the why. Why do we have a postdoc program and what's the goal? So innovation is really at the core of what we do here at Pfizer, and it's no surprise that innovation is also at the core of our postdoc program. Postdocs work on highly innovative projects that will in turn further our drug development platforms. Also, our program helps to promote the internal and external reputation of the company because all of our postdocs work on projects that are publishable and encouraged to attend meetings both internally and externally. We recognize that publications are postdocs' currency, so we are expecting that our postdocs are publishing in high-impact journals during their time with us. The program also energizes the scientific culture by encouraging projects outside of our drug pipeline and bringing in new talent to Pfizer. Okay. We currently have over 40 postdocs across many of our departments here at Pfizer, studying a wide array of research topics. This slide shows many of the fields Pfizer postdocs are working in currently. And our postdocs are located at a multitude of Pfizer R&D sites across the United States and in Europe, with the majority of postdocs located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Andover, Massachusetts, Groton, Connecticut, and La Jolla, California. Our postdoc program is governed by a team. The governance team is comprised of at least one representative from each of our participating departments. Some of the responsibilities of the governance team include reviewing the postdoc projects before they're open for recruitment. We make sure that the projects are appropriate for postdocs, for instance, that they're able to be published and that they can be completed in an appropriate amount of time. We also review qualifications of the mentor that wish to have the postdoc working with them. Our governance team has specific requirements that we have set that we feel is really important to being a successful mentor. So we're checking to make sure that those requirements have been met. And during the recruitment process, once a postdoc has been identified, the governance team screens the candidates to be sure that we're offering positions to the highest caliber postdocs. In addition to all of this, the governance team will review postdoc progress at various time points during their tenure with us, and they can make new or revise our old policies. So a timeline of a typical postdoc is like this. The postdocs are hired on for an initial 2-year contract. At the 18-month mark, we request a review be completed by the postdoc and their mentor. The review will consist of a write-up of the progress that's been made on the project, what goals still have work, and how long that will take. And if at this point, if the postdoc needs more than the initial 2-year contract, a 1-year extension can be requested. The governance team will review the request and either grant or decline it, depending on the progress that's been made and the merit of the extension. If a 1-year extension is granted, there will be another review at the 30-month mark, with the option of requesting another extension for 1 year. And we have a hard stop at 4 years. The average length of postdoc at Pfizer is about 2.5 years, and the duration is dependent upon the specific scientific project. Okay. Once postdocs leave Pfizer, all of them report finding employment in the field that they're looking in. In the past 5 years, 51% of our postdocs have found full-time employment at Pfizer at the conclusion of their postdoc. Most of them are transitioning to senior scientist roles. 11% joined another large pharmaceutical company, and 34% joined a biotech or a small pharmaceutical company, and a very small percentage have chosen to go back to academia. In addition to the scientific training the postdoc gets, we have a postdoc learning and development series aimed at addressing soft skills to develop a more well-rounded scientist. We also host an annual 2-day symposium where the postdocs all come together to one location, present their work in the form of oral and poster presentations. We invite a high caliber keynote speaker, and we host career development sessions. This slide shows some feedback that we collected from this past year's symposium. You can see that it gets really great reviews. For the postdocs, there's also various layers of mentorship that are built into our program, including our postdoc scientific advisory committee, which is really similar to a graduate student's thesis committee. And it can help to shape and advise the postdoc's project. We not only allow our postdocs to present internally and externally and to publish, but we really encourage it. Our postdocs have produced over 390 publications to date and in really high impact journals. Okay, so I'll stop here. I'm going to turn it over to two of our current postdocs that are on the line with me today, Alex and Ikenna, so we can hear about their experience in the program. I'll turn it over to you first, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex, as I was just introduced. I'll give a little background about myself before coming to Pfizer. I got my bachelor's from Smith College in the chemistry. I then worked as a chemist for 2 years in industry for a small company, and then decided to go back to graduate school. I switched from doing synthetic chemistry, or I still do some synthetic chemistry, but I switched into a chemical biology lab. So it was definitely a learning curve when it came to the biology side. I decided I want to continue to pursue chemical biology. So in graduate school, I had been studying small molecules that bacteria make and their functions, but I wanted to learn more about chemoproteomic workflows, which I thought would be useful for my projects in graduate school. And a lot of what I learned in graduate school was self-taught or collaborating with other lab mates who had also kind of self-taught themselves. So we weren't really experts in the area. I knew going forward, I wanted to learn skill sets that could be applicable in chemical biology. So I decided to pursue a postdoc in chemical biology, where now I'm learning the chemoproteomic workflow that I want to be learning. Instead, now I'm looking at mammalian cells. I'm looking at photofragments and exploring what proteins they're interacting with in the hopes of finding a ligand for a protein that had not been ligated before. And so that's pretty much what I'm doing now.
Thanks, Alex. Ikenna?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Ikenna Okekogbu. I'm currently a postdoc research fellow at the Andover location in Massachusetts. My PhD, before I got here, my PhD is in biological engineering from Purdue. After that, I had a stint as a postdoc fellow in a national lab in Tennessee, Oak Ridge National Lab. And then I got this postdoctoral position at Pfizer like 2 years ago. I'm a postdoc in the drug safety research and development unit. And I've been here, like I said earlier, for 2 years and 1 month. So happy to answer your questions in this webinar. Thank you. Thank you all for showing up and for having me.
Thank you. All right, so
How about
I
if I
will,
Mercedes, how about if I start asking you a few questions?
okay, great.
And I also failed to remind people to put your questions in the Q&A. So if you have a question, pop it over to the Q&A, and two things are going to go on. Emily is trying to answer the questions. She knows the answers to live. So pay attention to the answered questions for those. And then Mercedes, there's also some questions she doesn't know the answer to, which we'll get to after I ask you a few. But
Perfect.
I'm curious how the hiring and recruitment process, how does it work? And then relatedly, what makes an applicant stand out?
All right, so I'll go through, I'll take it first. I'll take the question first. So our application process is similar. So firstly, we post our postdocs all year round. It's not like a one time a year thing. It's all year round, a rolling application process, and it's dependent upon our business need. So if we need a postdoc to work on a specific project now, then we hire them now. And we'll open up the application, you'll apply, you'll get a call back, you'll usually get a phone screen from a recruiter, then you may have a phone interview with the hiring manager, then they may call you in for either an in-person or a virtual meeting where you'll meet the team, and you'll likely be asked to present your work. And I think that's like a standard application process.
And what
Did I
makes an
answer the
applicant
question?
stand out?
Right. So I think what we'd be looking for, so there are a lot of different qualifications that we'd be looking for in each specific postdoc project. Each project we have, or each position, we have an area of science, a project already in mind. But besides that, in general, we're looking for well-rounded students in their late stage of graduate school. We want to see publications. We want to see, and we want to see the specific skills that the hiring manager are looking for in that specific position. Also, we'd be looking for, good communication skills and both oral and written communication skills, and that you're able to work both as part of a team and individually. Alex and Akena, do you have anything to add?
That's pretty much how I applied. I applied through the Pfizer website. Heard back first from a, not my manager, but I forget what you call it, the person who
The recruiter.
a recruit, yeah. And then got a call from the manager to then I had a video presentation because it's still around COVID time. So I did a video presentation and then heard back maybe a week later.
I'm curious from McKenna, how did you prepare throughout the process? It sounds like from Alex, it sounds like it was a multi-step process. Could you share what you did to prepare?
Yeah, sure. So, like Alex mentioned, it's kind of the same process. I got the call from the HR, the recruiter, and after I got the call, then I started my preparation. Before the call, it was more of making my resume ready and attractive for the recruiter to call or reach out. So after I heard back from the recruiter, when the recruiter called me, and then I got an email from my manager that she would like to meet with me one-on-one on video. And so that was when my preparation started by by going on the group to kind of really understand the project, right? To know what the group is working on, and also to see what papers have been published by the group, by some scientists in the group, and to just get familiarized with what they do. And so I had this meeting with my manager and we discussed. But one thing I also made her understand was that the position I applied to, I didn't have the full skill set. I didn't have the experience, but I had the background and I knew something about it. So I told her what I'll be bringing to the table and what I would like to get out of the position. And so she was kind of impressed, obviously. and then I went into this third round, which is the interview, the panel interview I gave a talk for 1 hour, and that one I had to prepare some slides based on my previous research, my papers that I've published. So I just took one topic on my latest project that I was working on, and I presented that. And then I met one-on-one with some other people from the group and other groups. And so, yeah, that was my
I would
version for that.
underline two very important things you said. One, you read the research of the group. So when you met one-on-one with them, you could talk about their research. So
Right.
that's impressive. And this is just what you said about, I didn't have all the skills, but I explained what I would bring to the program. That's just a good applying for jobs life lesson. So that's very impressive that you took those two different tacks in your approach to getting the job. So congratulations.
I'll
Thank you.
piggyback on that as well. I also did my presentation for my thesis work, but then I also had a few slides about the type of photochemistry chemopharmaceutical work I was attempting in lab, so they knew that I had been doing the work. I just wanted to build on the skill set, so they also knew that I was trying to learn more in what that group was doing, and so my mentor wanted to teach somebody the skills I wanted to learn.
Nice. So it's nice matching. We now have 57 questions, Mercedes, in the Q&A, and I'm going to give moderator's prerogative to you if you want to zoom through those.
Yep. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of them about benefits and things. So I'll just address that quickly. So I see at Pfizer for our postdocs are full-time colleagues, or they're not full-time colleagues. They are fixed duration colleagues, but they are Pfizer colleagues. So they have a competitive salary and they get all of the benefits that any other Pfizer colleague would get. So that's all your medical and all of those type of benefits. So not contractors or anything like that. They are Pfizer colleagues and they get all the same benefits, including also education assistance. So if you decide you're going to go get more education, that is something Pfizer supports us in. I'm seeing how far in advance from your defense should you begin applications? I always tell people if they're within 12 months of application, or if they're within 12 months of graduation to start applying, because these type of positions, we really are looking for a very specific person. And a lot of times the hiring manager is willing to wait for that person to graduate if they find the right person. This question's for Akenna. How is your background in biological engineering? How does it apply to your current research?
So yeah, that's a good question. I think it boils down to skill sets, right? My PhD dissertation or my PhD work was on mass spectrometry, which was really like a skill set that was needed in the postdoctoral position. And so it wasn't about the degree in itself, it was about what I did in my research. And so with what I did, I was able to, based on my skill set and my experience, I was able to apply to that position because I saw the job requirement and I saw that this is my area and this is what I've been doing. And I'd like to know more about the area. And so that was how it fits into my degree. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah. Here's a question for both Alex and Ikenna. How did you decide to do a postdoc in industry versus a postdoc in academia?
So I can go first So for me, it was more like I needed to get my feet into the industry. And my first postdoc was in a national lab because I didn't want to do academia. One was that I felt my skill sets would be more useful in industry. And so that's why I didn't do academia. And also I felt the compensation didn't make sense to me in academia based on what I'll be putting in. And so I didn't consider academia. So that was why I decided to focus on the industry, knowing that that's where I'll be most useful.
Nice. Thank you, Ikenna. Alex?
I likewise knew I wanted to go into industry. And so I actually looked at both postdocs and just scientist positions. And I knew I wanted to continue with chemical biology, but I didn't have the skill sets yet for the senior scientist position. So I thought a postdoc would be a good stepping stone to then go on for further in my career.
Right. So I'm seeing some that are asking about people who have already done a postdoc previously, and how that would either affect their application or are they still eligible? So yes, we do accept people that are interested in a second postdoc. What would happen is we would want to see that there's a publication record from your first postdoc so that you were successful in publications. And that would not affect the amount of time that you spend in your postdoc at Pfizer if you've already done a postdoc previously. So your postdoc at Pfizer would be a brand new project. So you would spend as many years as required to get that project to completion at Pfizer then too. Does each postdoc participant work on an individual project, or do they work in small groups or on a single project? Alex, do you want to share how your group is set up?
Yeah. So mine, I would say, is separate from our groups. I'm doing work that can hopefully be published, whereas our group is doing portfolio project work. And so I started one project when I got here. This is another good thing to know, I guess, is sometimes projects don't pan out like you like in graduate school. But there's other academic collaborations that our group has had where it ends, but they still want more research. So I'll do my own project, but I definitely collaborate in the sense that a lot of our workflows overlap. So I'll ask for help if I don't know if I need some assistance. Or I'll reach out across if I want, say, a computational chemist to help me model a fragment in a protein. That's not my background, but they are on the floor above. I can walk up and see if anyone could help me and maybe set up a meeting. So it's a very collaborative environment, but it is definitely your own. It's in a sense your own project because I'm the only one in my group working on it, but you don't feel alone because you have a lot of people to ask.
Thank you. Ikenna, is that similar or is that different to how your group is set up?
Yeah, kind of similar. So every postdoc at Pfizer, has his or her own project, right? You come in writing a proposal on what you will achieve in the first 2 years, and if you need an extension, 3 or 4 years. So you come in, you work with your manager to develop a proposal within the first 120 days of your start date. And so based on that proposal, if it's approved, then you start working on it. So it's like you own the project, but as Alex mentioned, you still have people in your group and everywhere that you can speak with and ask questions. And so it's also part of what you need to publish, right? So yeah, that's how it works.
So there's a lot of questions about the postdoc and their proposal. So I'll just go through that in general first, and then I'll turn it over to Alex and Ikenna to talk about the proposal that they created themselves. So like Ikenna said, when the postdoc comes on board, we don't have a specific project already mapped out. We have an area of science that we know that the postdoc's going to work on. But the very specifics are not detailed yet. So once the postdoc comes on board, that's their first task, is to work with their mentor to come up with that proposal and create those aims. And the mentor will help with that, and also the leadership in their department will help with that too. So there is a specific format that we ask that those come into us looking like, and when you're on board, we'll provide you with all of those documents. Nothing to worry about yet, though. So Ikenna and Alex, do you want to, is that, did I capture it, or is there anything that I missed?
I think it was a little different for me. I don't know if it's changed a bit more since. I know it had been changing. My mentor, I have 3 mentors. I have 2 who are like new mentors, and in order for them to have a postdoc, they needed a higher mentor. One's in chemistry, one's chemical biology, and they together came up with a proposal about a compound that they want to use in cells. And so I heard their short paragraph proposal, and then I had to extend it to a larger proposal with more details, so then I could research more into what I'd be doing, and then that helps me get an idea what the science was, and also write the proposal to then submit. So that's what mine was there was already a basis, like a base proposal, but it just needed some more layers to it in order to be submitted.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, what Alex is saying makes sense, because when I joined, I was told that was the first time they were starting the idea of postdocs coming in and working with the manager to develop a proposal. Before then, the proposal is already written, like we almost like have the flesh, and then the postdoc can now put in some details and all. But now you have to work with your manager to develop it from scratch. But I think sometimes the manager has like an idea, which is what they put out in the job description, right? They put out in the job description, it should be, this is the big picture of the project, there's a title, but you have to develop a proposal on that. And so that was how mine is. And I think since like 2 years now, it's been, some other people have spoken to, that's how it's been for them.
Thank you. Can you both talk to the difference between working in industry versus working in academia. So someone specifically is asking about a postdoc in academia versus a postdoc in industry, and you might not have that experience specifically, but you certainly did your PhD and you were there and you probably witnessed other postdocs, so you might have an idea.
Sure, I can go on that one. Starting as a synthetic chemist in academia, I feel like it was not lab work, long hours. Switching to chemical biology, it was a bit more relaxed, but still hours are a bit longer. I feel like in industry, there's more flexibility. You get your work done. The hours are, I mean, it's not like academia where if you want to start at 1 p.m. you can do that, but no. But I like to come in early to start my experiments so that I can get my reading done in the afternoon or whatever writing lab computer work I want to get done. And I feel like in academia, sometimes you feel like you had to stay later than even though I was there for a good amount of time already and had my work done. I recently had a daughter, so I like to be able to go home to her at a reasonable time. So I think my work-life balance is definitely more manageable with an industry postdoc than I think it would have been with an academic postdoc.
Thanks for sharing.
I will say we did a webinar on the transition from industry to academia, and it did look at 3 different career paths postdoc, and everyone said that as well. They said, you know, you work more when you have to, but it does tend to be a little bit more predictable 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think no, just to add to what Alex said and what Amy mentioned, it's kind of, for me, I didn't do a postdoc in academia, but I did some research before deciding on what to go, and also did my PhD. So as I said earlier, I mean, I felt the pay was like what I'll be paid for a postdoc in academia. Like I couldn't bear that. It didn't make sense to me. So I said, no, I'm not doing this. Secondly, I knew if I could get a postdoc in industry, I have higher chance of being in the industry because of the network it will create for me. And so that gave me the opportunity. Also, there are like in academia, sometimes you're limited by funds to do research. But the good thing about industry is you're not thinking about the funding, you're just focused on the research, you know. So it helps you to kind of really do science that will be impactful without cutting corners or anything. And so those are the things that I considered, and I said, okay, it's better to just go to the industry.
I guess another thing to note is that if I want to mentor, I feel like I could ask to mentor, but a lot of it is about so I feel like in academia, as a postdoc, you're working on your project, but you have a lot of graduate students you're also supervising a bit. Whereas in industry, I feel like it's a lot about your own self-growth. And if you want to mentor, you can, but it's not, you don't have pressure to do it if you don't have the time. It's more like you get the mentorship that you want. But again, yeah, if you want to go into teaching, maybe that mentorship of you mentoring is important to you.
I know that there are a lot of questions about getting the job, and I do want to return to that, but I would like to build off what Alex said. How are you two making the most of your positions at Pfizer? You've got, 1.5 to max 4 years. What are you doing to maximize your time there?
I can go first. So for one of the requirements of the postdoc position in Pfizer is publication. You need to publish a paper, right? And so within the time you're here, you're making sure that at least you achieve that goal. And while you're pursuing that, at the same time, you're making the networking and you're networking for future positions, right? Either within Pfizer or maybe outside Pfizer. So you're also looking at opportunity, and because you will meet lots of people that will be in Pfizer, and maybe some of them would have transitioned to other companies. So you have this network you're building. At the same time, you're pursuing your professional development goals within Pfizer. So there are lots of opportunities within the 2-3 years of being a postdoc here. But as I said earlier, the goal, you want to make sure you get that paper published before you leave, and that will make your postdoc stronger.
Yeah, I agree with that. Trying to both get the skills I wanted, but also the networking and not only networking within Pfizer, but a lot of our Pfizer colleagues know people in chemical biology for me at other companies. Also trying to get a paper out and also be able to go to a conference. I'd like to go to a GRC, which I have been wanting to do. I didn't get to do in graduate school, and so I'm hoping to go this summer. So just trying to make the most of the time I have by networking, getting my research out, and gaining the skills I wanted to gain.
Thank you.
What do you think, both Alex and Akenna, what do you think made your application stand out? Do you think that it was publications, presentations, awards? Like what do you think on your resume got you that first call?
It's hard to tell for me because I've not really asked my manager that question. But what I would say is, I think from my discussions with her and from during the interview process and with other people, it was more of publications, right? They saw the publications. I don't think I put some presentations, but just few. It was the public. If you have to choose which one to put, just put your publications, because your publications show your productivity and your experience and your skill set. Everything is involved in what you publish. So if a manager is going through your CV, most likely they want to see what you've done within that area, and it's the publications that they will go to right first and see what you've done and all. Except you have internal referral that can speak on your behalf. But if not, I think the publications are always the major thing they look for.
You.
Sorry, I'm freezing a little bit. So I might have you guys continue on. So the screen is frozen down my end.
Yeah, we can't hear you very well either, Alex. I think we're gonna skip you. Sorry.
I wonder if Alex can turn off her camera and maybe that would make her voice stronger.
Maybe.
Alex, can you try to answer the question, what made your application stand out in your opinion?
Is this going to help? I don't know. But my network issue.
No.
I'm sorry, Alex, it's not helping.
So that's no problem.
We can come back to you and maybe it'll have resolved in a few more minutes. Amy, do you have any other questions in the meantime?
There is quite a few questions about response rates on Pfizer's side. So let's say somebody has identified a position they're qualified for and interested in, and let's say they apply over this weekend. What percentage of people get that first call? And if they're going to get that first call, how quickly does it happen? Or does it greatly vary by the research group hiring the postdoc?
Yeah, so that's a really hard question because it changes position to position. So the amount of applicants that we get change position to position, and that's very much dependent upon the field. Some fields have a lot more graduates in them than others, and that means that some positions will be more competitive than others because of the specific skills that hiring manager would be looking for. And then the timeline that you'll be hearing back, or the timeline that you'll be called in for an interview, and all of that really depends on how quickly the hiring manager wants to move. And sometimes they're like, I want somebody in yesterday. So they're just gonna hire, quick, and you'll hear back, within a couple days. Other times it may be weeks lag that you'll wait to hear back. And that's all just dependent upon the specific person that's doing the hiring.
That's helpful. And what we fund fits very neatly into your list of postdoctoral opportunities that you had on your slide deck. But we did get a few questions about value assessment, health outcomes research. Do you have postdocs in those areas occasionally? I wasn't sure I saw it on your list.
Not very often. So we may have some like in more computational, like they might be modeling things like that, but not very often.
Okay, that's helpful.
Mhm.
I think we've touched on the majority of the questions and topics, but we do have a few more minutes left. So I do want to say that after this, we will go through the 72 unanswered questions, and we'll think if we answered them. And if we did not answer them, then we will write a blog answering some of those questions that didn't get touched on today. So stay tuned for that. But I did want to give both Alex and Akenna the opportunity, and Mercedes, the opportunity to make closing remarks. Is there anything you want to say to our audience? I'm going to start with Akenna, and then we'll go to Alex, and Mercedes, if she can't speak up, then just jump in, please.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. So, I mean, once again, I know this is a wonderful opportunity for everyone attending to really learn about this working as a postdoc in Pfizer. From my experience, it's been a wonderful experience as a postdoc here. And I wish I started earlier, but I've learned a lot from my 2 years stay. One just advice I would give those who are looking to get into industry postdoc is that start preparing ahead of time. You look at job postings in your field or your area and see what skill sets that keeps coming up. And if you need to, you learn that skill set or build up in that area so that when you're applying, you have an edge over others. And so referrals are good, and if you have it, is good, but most times you might not really need it. I didn't get a referral from my position. So just you look at your resume and they pick the best. So there's no any other way about it. So that's just what I would just say, that people should just keep looking out for positions in industry and keep applying. The first one might not be the one you get, but don't give up. Keep applying. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be part of this.
Well, thank you for doing it. And I love that. Look at job descriptions now. And if you don't have a skill set, pick it up.
Yeah.
Great advice. Alex?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I so far had a great experience with my postdoc. I'm hoping I'm coming out clear now. And that one thing also, if you're not fully sure about the position, you can also try to network, reach out to people through LinkedIn or through a networking event, just to or see if you can get coffee if you're in the neighborhood, just to see what they are doing. If you have no idea, because sometimes it's hard based off of a job title to know what the job is. I know they have skill sets, but you can also just try to reach out and set up meetings just to understand if you fill that position, or you can also get a better idea if you need to get some skills under your belt before you apply. That's my one. I mean, it's as I said, I need to take myself. I'm very bad. I'm not the most social person, but I also need to be better at networking and speaking to other people about their jobs.
Alex, thank you. We have a networking webinar on PhRMA Foundation's YouTube channel. Go check it out. And then some people also asked about a postdoc versus going into a scientist position at Pfizer. And if you watch our webinar on academe to industry, that is touched on. And there is a speaker from Pfizer as well as 2 other companies. So to answer that question, see the other webinar. Final word, Mercedes. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this was great. Thank you for having us. And if anybody is interested in applying for a postdoc at Pfizer, you can find all of our job postings on careers.pfizer.com. You can search keyword postdoc. That will bring up all of the postdoc positions. If you don't see one that your heart speaks to right now, you can just keep looking back. You can set up a job alert and it will email you when ones come available. And you can feel free to, find me on LinkedIn and you can ask questions that way.
That's a very generous offer. Everyone's scribbling down the spelling of your last name right now.
Well, the tricky ones.
It's a tricky one, but you're easier to find than Amy Miller, honestly.
That's probably true.
Well, thank you all for your time today. I think this was very valuable, and I appreciate the audience for joining us, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
You.